Hey there, how there, ho there, it's Joe Cutter Diamond welcoming you to yet another Cutter Top 10 video. And today we're going to look at the top 10 NBA players of all time. As I'm rocking the Raptor number 9 for RJ Barrett and all that. And kind of a congratulations to RJ Barrett's former team, the New York Knicks, for being the 2026 champions. Of course, I'm not too pleased with it and all that, but whatever. Because I picked Spurs, because I thought that the Spurs deserved it. They went through the hard way against Oklahoma City, and the Knicks kind of had it a little too easy. None of the top 10 NBA players of all time actually played for the Toronto Raptors. The number one player, I think, playing for the Raptors is either Vince Carter or Kyle Lowry. So, anyway, just wanted to let you know. All right, here we go. Number 10 is Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan, a good power forward for the San Antonio Spurs. He actually was drafted first overall in 1997 from Wake Forest. Tim Duncan actually was a guy who wanted to be an Olympic swimmer, but because of a hurricane in the Virgin Islands, he switched to basketball. He was pretty good. Played with the Spurs all his career. Teamed up with David Robinson, who missed this list, but yeah, David Robinson and Tim Duncan winning a few titles, and then Duncan winning a few titles on his own accord. And of course, David Robinson, the number one pick in 1987 from Navy, who actually had to have a 2-year naval commitment because at the time, the Navy sports people had to do a 2-year commitment. But the San Antonio GM, when he won the draft lottery, says, "We waited 14 years for this. What's two more?" And it worked. The patience worked. But yeah, Tim Duncan was a pretty good player himself. Number 21 on your books. Number 9 is Shaq. Oh, so Shaq is next on this list. Shaq was a legend. He played for LSU. He was 7 foot tall. He didn't do much in college, but he was the number one pick by Orlando in the 92 draft after Orlando won the draft lottery. Shaq in his rookie season impressed. He actually brought 2 backboards down in Phoenix in New Jersey and then ended up, having the new breakaway tearaway room rule. And then also, his team was only locked down by 1 game to make the playoffs. Even though they were 1 win away from the playoffs, they had 1 ball out of 66 in the hopper for the draft lottery, and it ended up being trumps for them. They drafted Chris Webber, traded him to Golden State for Penny Hardaway, and that worked. Shaq would help lead the Orlando to the 95 finals, which they choked, losing 4 straight to Houston. But Nick Anderson was the bigger choker because of his free throw mistakes. Shaq in 96 ended his 3-year career with the Magic and then was sent away to the Lakers. The Lakers gave him a massive deal. They needed a center. Vlade Divac was traded to Charlotte for the rights to this Kobe Bryant guy, which I will talk about later. But anyway, Shaq Diesel was in LA. He teamed up with Kobe and a few other role players, and they won 3 straight titles in 2000, 2001, and 2002. Unfortunately, the Shaq and Kobe problem had massive beef, and Shaq was traded to Miami for Lamar Odom. And the joke was on the Lakers because Shaq won the title in 2006 with the Heat. He would go on to play for Boston, Phoenix, Cleveland, and a few other teams along the way. Number 8 is Magic Johnson. I think Magic was a pretty good player, but the shortness of his career actually contributed to being low on the list. So anyway, Magic came from Michigan State, part of the 1979 squad that took on Larry Bird in the finals, and included some guy named Mike Berkowitz from Windsor, Ontario. Yeah, Canadian was a starter on the 1979 Michigan State team. Take it with a grain of salt. So Magic was this great guy. He was 6'9", but he played like a point guard and all that. He could play many positions. He even was center in Game 6 of the Lakers' 1980 NBA Finals match with the Sixers because of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's injury. So Magic did his job. He was named Finals MVP in his rookie campaign, which was amazing. He helped the Showtime Lakers win titles in the 80s, nothing in the 90s, unfortunately. Magic was good, but then in 91, he had HIV and had to tell everyone everything. He didn't have the AIDS virus. That would have been the death blow, if you will. But yeah, so Magic's been around since then. He hasn't died from his condition yet, which is pretty good. And, everyone went through mass hysteria with the HIV AIDS thing. It was the 90s after all. But yeah, Magic came back for the 92 All-Star game because everyone voted him in, and he put a performance for the ages. And in 96, he came back for the Lakers before Shaq and before Kobe. Number 7 is his internal rival one Larry Bird, Larry Legend, number 7 on this list. So Larry Bird played from. He actually was part of Indiana as a walk-on, but he didn't like Bobby Knight's style, so he transferred to Indiana State. He was a garbage man at the time. So Indiana State, he did have a blonde mustache at the time at times. But anyway, yeah, Larry Bird took on Magic in the 1979 NCAA final, which is the highest rated final in NBA in NCAA history, even to this day. But yeah, Bird and Indiana State, like Indiana State, you don't really think they're a basketball powerhouse or all that, but they were. Anyway, Larry Bird and co. He was drafted first overall by the Celtics in 1978 in what they call the Futures move. So Bird was there in Boston in 1979-80. They kind of sucked, but they picked up Robert Parrish from a trade from Golden State and took Kevin McHale in that pick that Golden State sent to Boston. It worked. Boston was off and running in the 80s, winning the 8 titles in 81, 84, 86. So they won 3 titles in the 80s and all that. Larry Bird was unstoppable as it seemed. He was pretty good. And of course, his famous steal of Bill Laimbeer's inbounds pass in Game 5 of the 1987 conference finals will always be big, but they lost to the Lakers in the playoffs. But yeah, Larry Bird was good, and then injuries would take his toll. By 1992, he was off the floor for good because of injuries. He actually got to coach the Pacers and all that. And everyone liked that. But yeah, Larry Legend will always be big. Number 6 is Kobe Beef, as in Kobe Bryant. I know a lot of people would be thinking, well, you put Kobe too low on this list. Well, look at how stacked the top 5 is. You'll understand. Anyway, Kobe Bryant was a pretty good player. He was drafted out of high school when you were allowed to draft players out of high school. There were some good ones. Kevin Garnett, 5th overall in 1995, and of course Kobe in 96, being 13th overall. And there were clunkers like that Washington guy. I can't remember his name off the top. Oh yeah, Kwame Brown. And even there was some high schooler that was like number 3 overall and failed. Never mind. So anyway, Kobe did his job. Like, the Hornets drafted him, traded him to the Lakers for Vlade Divac, and the rest was history. Kobe was putting up records like no other. He won the slam dunk contest in his rookie campaign. He was good. They put him with Shaq, and they were perfect for each other. Unfortunately, there was a massive rift. Kobe was allegedly rumored to go to the Clippers or another team, but they nixed that. They actually went with Shaq being traded away. Kobe had his own problems off the court. He was accused by a female masseuse for inappropriate behavior in Colorado in 2003. Unfortunately, her testimony didn't happen. She didn't testify, which meant that there was something fishy about it. Either the testimony was not going to work, or it may have been a cash grab. Kobe was exonerated, and he was still vilified in a sense. Kobe led the Lakers to a few more titles in the 2000s and 2010s. He was pretty impressive. He changed his number from 8 to 24, which was like, why would you change your number? But anyway, Kobe was pretty good. 2016, his final regular season game, the Lakers were not going to the playoffs. That he put a 60 burger on Utah the same night as Golden State won number 73 in the season. But Kobe did his job, and then in 2020, in January, the day after LeBron passed him on the scoring list, which I was pissed off of, you don't pass a guy like Kobe Bryant. Nevertheless, Kobe Bryant and was taking a private helicopter with his daughter Gianna and a few other teammates of Gianna's basketball thing. Unfortunately, though, the pilot made some error in the fog, and poof, you can guess it was a recipe for disaster. He ended up dying in that helicopter crash, and basically everyone was just saddened by Kobe's death. It was like one of the most heartbreaking things, and it led to a lot of things. Kobe was still in his infancy, and this was a month before I lost my dad, which was worse than Kobe Bryant. Number 5 is Wilt the Still Chamberlain, one of the most powerful centers of all time. He was so dominant that the NBA and the NCAA kind of had to make rules to try to ruin him. The NCAA, he played for Kansas for one season. He was so dominant that they had to change the radius of the circle for Wilt Chamberlain being so damn good. Well, Wilt Chamberlain was tall as fuck. He was like 7'2". He only played 1 year for Kansas, got them to the finals, lost in North Carolina in triple overtime, and then play for the Philadelphia Warriors, soon become the San Francisco Warriors, the catalyst for the Golden State Warriors. And Will Still looked good. 1962 was his magnus opus, as he put up over 40 points per game, 50 points per game. He had a 100 points game against the Sixers in Hershey. No, sorry, against the Knicks in Hershey. So Will Still looked pretty impressive, scoring points and rebounding at will. The NBA had to change the length, the width of the circle too, and the lane he could drive in, so that he can't goaltend or defensive basket interference. But anyway, Will Still looked pretty good too. And then he went to the Sixers, then to the Lakers. He won a few titles along the way. He was pretty impressive. Unfortunately, his off the court antics would kind of hurt him in a sense, especially with him sleeping with so many women. That In Living Color actually did a sketch about it, like the Vietnam War Memorial, like with the wall. It was all those ladies' names and all that. Although Wilt actually laughed at that joke. Wilt would die before the 21st century, though. We don't know why. But anyway, yeah, Wilt was still pretty good. Number 4 is Bill Russell. Speaking of hardcore setters, that's Bill Russell to a T. Bill Russell's number 6 is almost certain to be retired by everyone in the NBA. I mean, a lot of people say his 6 should be retired by everybody. I mean, what magical person wears number 6 anymore? Not even LeBron. But yeah, Bill Russell was good. He was actually a St. Louis Hawk, and then his rights were traded to Boston. I don't think this was the Ice Capades trade. Well, but anyway, yeah, Bill Russell. I think no, this was 56. This was the Ice Capades trade. Bill Russell, alongside Casey Jones, went wild for the University of San Francisco, doing their job and all that. So that was pretty impressive. And then they both played for Boston and helped them win 8 straight titles from 1959 to 1966. Bill Russell was dominating. His matchups with Will Chamberlain were big. I mean, especially with the fact that they couldn't meet each other in the finals because they're in the same conference, if you will. So, but yeah, Bill Russell was a leader and all that. By 1967, he was worn down. They made him the coach after Auerbach left, and he led them to do a couple more titles and all that. As player coach in 1969, he was okay, and then he decided to retire to be coach full time. Bill Russell gets a lot of praise and all that. His name's on the MVP, the playoff MVP trophy now, and that's just great. And the NBA really paid honor to him when he died, saying that number 6 would have the patch on everyone's jersey, even if he didn't play for them. Number 3 is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Now, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, great center, one of the best ever, and all that. He transcended things. He played for UCLA under the name Lou Alcindor before he transferred to Islam and became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem did well in college, UCLA in their dynasty in the mid 60s and all that. They were not allowed to dunk and all that. But yeah, Kareem did well, and then Milwaukee won a coin flip to be the number 1 pick in 1969. They beat Phoenix for that and got to trade Abdul-Jabbar. He led them to the 1971 finals in Milwaukee. I mean, the championship in 71 and the finals in 74 against Boston. But he was tired of Milwaukee, saying that it was boring. It was a boring town to be in. He wanted to be traded to either New York or Los Angeles. Los Angeles gave a better deal with many players, including Junior Bridgman, who actually would be a Milwaukee icon and an entrepreneur like no other in Louisville. So anyway, Kareem went to the Lakers. He did quite well. He participated in Airplane, the spoof film 1980, and basically yelling at a boy who thinks that he sucks. Anyway, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was good. He had a shaved head near the end of his career and wore goggles and all that. It was just amazing to see him win all those titles with Magic and becoming a legend and becoming the all-time points leader for many, many years until this guy beat him. Number 2 is LeBron James. I just couldn't put LeBron at number 1. I just couldn't. Call it biasy and the fact that LeBron always seemed to beat Toronto in the playoffs, but LeBron was an icon. LeBron was this guy so highly touted when, remember, you could draft a guy out of high school in 2003. He was so highly touted that ESPN2 had his high school games on. Kind of awkward, but yeah, LeBron won. Cleveland ended up winning the draft lottery. Everyone thought that it was rigged and all that. LeBron went first overall to the Cavs, trying to help Cleveland out. Darko Milicic famously went number 2 to Detroit. For how shitty he was, he did win an NBA ring. Number 3 went to the Nuggets and they got Carmelo Anthony, who's an icon for both Denver and New York. And then Chris Bosh was drafted by the Raptors in that draft, and also the things with D Wade going to Miami from Marquette. But anyway, LeBron proved himself worthy, got Cleveland to the title in 2007, but I mean the finals, but lost to San Antonio. But he was still pretty good. He made a famous shot in 2009 against Orlando in Game 2 of the conference finals, so big that there's the YouTube clip of the Cleveland news people saying how terrible it is, Cleveland down 0-2, and then basically the sports anchor, after hearing it, says Cavs win, Cavs win, Cavs win, and then bounces off the chair of one of the co-anchors. Anyway, LeBron looked pretty good for Cleveland. And then in 2010, in a 1 hour special that should have been only 30 minutes, that would have been easier to swallow, LeBron decided to take his talents to South Beach, that being Miami. I mean, Miami has had some good job with D Wade and Shaq in the past. They have had a title. Cleveland fans burned his stuff and wanted to burn his murals. Anyway, LeBron in Miami, they had the big 3 with Wade and Bosh, who decided to leave Toronto in free agency for Miami. So the big 3 got to the 2011 final, lost to Dallas in revenge for 2006. And then they won 2012 and 2013 over Oklahoma City and San Antonio, respectively. And then the Spurs got revenge in 2014 thanks to Kawhi Leonard. LeBron decided to have a challenge to take his talents back to Cleveland, and Cleveland fans had to unburn his stuff. He led Cleveland to the 2015 final when they lost to Golden State, and of course their Finals MVP, my favorite Golden State Warrior, not Steph Curry, but one Andre Iguodala. And I think Steph Curry should have been number 10 in anything, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah, so LeBron got the title in 2016, giving Cleveland their first major title since 1964 as a city. And, mission accomplished. Fait accompli. 2017, 2018 led them to the final, and then he decided to bolt Cleveland for the Lakers, which was shocking because he was having Cleveland make the finals every year. Unfortunately, though, the Lakers didn't get to the finals in 2019, and Cleveland faltered without LeBron. It got the Raptors to the NBA Finals. Thanks, LeBron, for switching to the West. We got the title. Haha. But in 2020, in the COVID-shortened year, he did win the title, and it had to be the Lakers because of Kobe, Steph, and all that. LeBron became the highest scoring player of all time, beating Abdul-Jabbar, and he's still playing as of this taping. But number 1, and I know I had to pick number 1, is MJ. I mean, why wouldn't it be MJ? He was dominant and all that. He may have retired a couple times, but MJ was still MJ. He was great for North Carolina. He was the hero in 1982, putting up that 15-foot shot that got North Carolina to beat Georgetown. Also, of course, let's not forget about Fred Brown's terrible pass, looking for Sleepy Floyd, and he fumbled that pass. But anyway, yeah, MJ was drafted in 1984 by Chicago, 3rd overall. Portland and Houston both had a chance. Houston decided to go center with Hakeem Olajuwon. Well, that worked out quite well, actually. And Portland went with Sam Bowie because Portland needed a center because everyone else had a great center that won them the title. And Portland knew that in 1977 with Bill freaking Walton. But Portland failed miserably. They also had some shooting guards like Jim Paxson and Clyde Drexler on the roster. That's kind of why they couldn't draft them either. But yeah, MJ went to Chicago. Of course, North Carolina hides his stats because what is his name? Dean Martin. No, Dean Martin. Dean Smith didn't play MJ that much in North Carolina. MJ went off and running. He missed a lot of time in his second season because of injury, but he came back and put up a 63-point worm burner against Boston in the playoffs, even though that the Bulls lost in double overtime in that game. He was good in the 80s. He had that tongue hanging out dunk in the slam dunk competition in Chicago from the free throw line in 1988. And he was off and running. He was trying to usurp people. The Bulls finally got past those pesky Pistons in 1991. And then MJ led them to a three-peat. 91, 92, 93. Of course, 91, he had that famous switch hand shot anticipating Sam Perkins blocking him. And Perkins was a UNC teammate. And then number two was 92 was when he had 3 pointers in the first game of the finals, and he gave a massive shrug. And in 93, MJ and Co. won. It was John Paxson being the hero. Then MJ decided to retire at the end of the 93 season to play baseball because that's what his father wanted. And his father unfortunately died in a shooting on a roadside because he had to rest and all that. And two thugs decided to rob him and shoot him dead. MJ always had his father in his corner, so it was understandable he needed to take time off because of his father's death and all that. And playing baseball, and of course that was when the baseball season in '94 was killed off and ruining Montreal's chances to make the playoffs. MJ played in Birmingham in the Severn League, and he wasn't hitting that well. He went to the Fall League and got a little better, but after the whole thing, 95 with replacement players, MJ said he couldn't cross the picket line, so he went back to basketball and helped the Bulls out, winning a three-peat, and of course Father's Day 1996, winning the title and crying in the dressing room. He had that famous shot over, um, I would say Russell, but that can't be right. In 1998, to give the Bulls the win, he decided to retire again, but then a few years later, he became owner of the Washington Wizards and decided to strap on the boots and play for the Washington Wizards and their flop Kwame Brown. Washington didn't do so well. Of course, there were rumors that MJ was booted in '93 because of a gambling addiction. Probably not. But yeah, MJ may be a dick to some, but he's a wonder to others. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do